I am in the rustling raincoat again because naturally the weather has chosen to persist down, as my grandmother is so fond of saying. Hey everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I am going to talk about nothing in particular. I feel as though I should thank everyone who sent me well wishes after I was feeling particularly glum last week. I mean, of course, those feelings don't alleviate immediately, and I did have that video private for a bit and kept thinking, should I upload it, shouldn't I upload it? But ultimately, I decided that you need to see me all bells and whistles. That sounded dirty, but... Anyway, let's give you an update on the dog first. Basically, Rambo was in the vets last week. Last Thursday, I took him because his face was basically exploding. The vet gave him a course of antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, and now he is much better. The swelling has gone down. His skin, we're told, will heal. He's got one more course of antibiotics for the next few days, then he will be done. And he has turned into the same reckless character who refuses to listen to me, which I'm guessing means he's feeling somewhat better. I mean, you know, he is 14, so... You know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at without me having to actually say that. So, well, I'm still going to ask at the end of this video what you're all reading, writing, watching, listening to. But I thought, since I'm here, I was feeling particularly glad this week because a few people who I happen to like, I think it's only two, released music this week. Or last week. Either way, last night I discovered that Stay Away by Moona exists. If you didn't know, Moona are a band that I particularly like. I'm quite fond of them ever since Winter Break came up in my recommended videos a few years ago. I've been here for them. I think that their music is fantastic. It reminds me of like 80s synth pop. It's darker indie pop music. It's fantastic. I love it. Theirs is one of those albums that I talk about when I say that if I listen to one song, I've got to listen to the entire album, and I might not necessarily listen to it in order, but it's definitely all getting listened to. And so I've been really enjoying hearing their new music, such as Number One Fan and Who, but Stay Away was just brilliant. It was... At first, I thought lyrically, this is quite simple. I didn't expect this. But, you know, I was 4 listens in, and I only discovered it at 9:30 last night, I think. Well, it was late. It was late last night. Also, Alice Chater released the song tonight. Don't know when she did it. Probably last week, if not the week before. But I'm listening to that on the daily. I'm also going back and watching some of the terrible pop music from when I was at school. I don't know whether this is because of the mood that I was in, you know, feeling particularly glum. But I have listened to some of... There's no nice way to put it, is there? You know, I've listened to it, and the older I get, the more I think, you know, sometimes music did have a bad era, and it apparently happened during my youth. So, reading-wise, I am very grateful to Charlie of Charlie Brook, who sent me a book. I think it's called Poems to Live Your Life By, and it was selected by Chris Riddle and illustrated by him as well. And Lord, when it says to live your life by, he does go through every single facet of like human experience in this book. Some of the poems I questioned why they'd be included, because I thought, I know that these are classic poems, but also primarily I think of Chris Riddle as, or Chris Riddell, I don't know how you say his name, as a children's illustrator, so I don't know whether he was trying to be educational, but admittedly I preferred the more modern poems in there. I'll probably tell you in my wrap-up my favourites, but I was exceptionally glad that Charlie sent this to me. It was very kind of her, completely unexpected, because, well, it just was. And so there's that. And I've also started I tried reading Liminal by B. Lewis, and oh my lord, I made it past one chapter, and this overwritten purple prose, very predictable plot sent me to watching Jen Campbell's video in which she talked about it, and she read the whole thing, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I'm, at the moment, having made my all the unread books on my shelves video, it actually then caused me to go and unhaul a lot of books that I had no interest in, that had been gifts, and it made me think again. I find it very easy to cull my shelves. I also went through all the books I'd got from the charity shop, and I culled them, and they've since all been returned. And I also got rid of my entire Agatha Raisin collection. I think I told you that already. So currently, if I'm reading a book and I don't like it, and I just definitely know that there's no point in me reading 300 pages if I've already developed this distaste for the story, then there's no point me going on, because my review is always going to be unfavourable. So put Liminal down and went to A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. Now, first chapter of that, I was invested in it, and then it kind of petered out immediately for me. Now, I don't know whether this is just because I had other things I wanted to do, but I put a message out on Twitter. Matthew of MTS Books replied to me. I know that Charlie Brooke didn't necessarily care for this book at all, so I've got 100 pages in, and I've put the book down because yesterday, whilst I was at work, the shop was a bit empty, because usually when it rains it gets a bit empty. So I wandered over to the bookshelves, and I unhauled my copy of the 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield after I made my unread books video, and it's still sitting on the shelf in the back. And yet the TV tie-in edition was on the bookcase, and I thought, well, I'll just pick it up. And that first page has never hooked me before. Not gonna lie, I have always wondered what Katie of Books and Things was trying to get everyone into, because I couldn't do it. However, yesterday, I picked that book up at work, and Lord, if I wasn't completely enveloped in that story. The main character, Margaret, starts talking about all of this stuff to do with books and being hooked by books, and I'm just like, well, this is very strange, because I'm having that experience as a reader myself now. And then it talks about Victorian literature, and I was recognising allusions to Victorian literature within the story, and I'm still trying to figure out, was the stuff that's a bit similar to Dombey and Son but with a gender flip there supposed to be like that, or am I just reading too much into things? Was this pseudo Wuthering Heights relationship that I've only seen for this last story just before page 90 supposed to be there? And I just want answers, so I'm going to be reading that. Apparently it's Cosy Reading Night tonight, so I was going to read A Winter's Promise and look for other books to read, but it might just be a case of reading the 13th Tale for 3 hours, because I might just be the tiniest bit obsessed now. Might have brought it to work with me, despite the fact I know that I'm not on the till today, and there's absolutely no chance that I'm going to get to sit down and have any time to read. I wasn't sat down anyway, I was stood up at the till. Such a professional here. Let's hope that my head office do not watch this video, but I will admit that I only got through 15 pages, and that's like 7 minutes reading for me, so, you know. I had no lunch. You know, I spent my break doing that. Oh. watching. So I'm currently re-watching season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And do you want to know something? Not my favourite season. I appreciate the fashion in this series, but didn't realise until a certain episode that Jaden Dior Fierce had always thought that she was wearing a nude illusion. And I never thought that that was a nude illusion. In fact, I've often got these episodes mixed up in my head. That's it for the watching, really. My dad's had Emmerdale on a lot in the background, but primarily I've been trying to get through the YouTube that I missed whilst I was looking after my nephew and then having my laptop disappear for a week. So I'm sorry if you hear the rain in the next few minutes. And I'm feeling incredibly bad about the fact that I've got to catch up on all these videos, and I did question whether to just try and watch all the new ones. And I'm really aware that there are people I recently subscribed to, such as Tia and All the Books, and I Read Past My Bedtime, whose videos I've discovered and I want to watch, but when I get home, each day I'm usually watching about 4 hours of BookTube on average, and once I've got through like the usual suspects, I just don't have the time. So I'm going to have to make time. Alas, it won't be today. Today is Saturday, because as aforementioned, today is Cosy Reading Night. This video will not be uploaded today. It may be uploaded tomorrow, as well as a Cosy Reading Night vlog. I still have tag videos to edit and get those up. So yeah, I'm just aware that I am not being the best supportive booktuber at the moment and watching all the people I could possibly watch. Finally, I got the proof copy of Doris Ahoy this week, and I still don't like KDP. I'm gonna say it. It's gonna have to stay up now. I've said it. I'm saying it. I'm sticking by it. Create Space, whilst it had to come all the way from America, whilst it was giving me a huge carbon footprint. Also, just side note, this book came from Poland, so still carbon footprint there. Still Amazon. Still bad. But at least Indisputably Doris matched Our Doris in size. And I've still gone by the 5x8 format. I've done everything the same way I would usually do it. And yet this book is still about half an inch shorter than its predecessors. And I had this problem when I reordered some new copies of Indisputably Doris to make sure all the errors have been removed. Next point, only discovered about 3 weeks ago that I've been getting the apostrophe in Harold's name wrong for the last 8 years? How long has it been? It's been 8 years. 8 years I've been getting his apostrophe wrong, okay? And I only got told in July, so now I've got to put it right in all the editions. So let's just say, I'm sorry about it, get over it. So that's all correct in Doris Ahoy. Really happy with how Doris Ahoy looks on the inside. I just wished that it matched its siblings, because I was wondering, how did this book that is so considerably shorter than its predecessors, its sisters, hit 153 pages? And it's because it's shorter, it's smaller, it's squatter. This is the runt of the litter. Not happy. Already looking at Lightning Source as a possible option for Doris Ahoy and any subsequent books that I release. In terms of writing, I haven't actually been writing. I got my laptop back. Funny story regarding my laptop. So when I took my laptop on the Tuesday before I last saw you, I was told it shouldn't take long because I only needed a charger. And so I waited and I waited, and I finally got a message on Saturday saying that my laptop should be back at the store by Monday. And so I'd always planned, whether or not they told me that the computer was there, to go to Curry's PC World and see whether they had my computer. And so I was driving home from work to go to Curry's, and whilst I'm in the car, I get a phone call. Now, I don't answer the phone in the car. Oftentimes, I have it set to do not disturb. This just happened to be one occasion where it managed to actually telephone me. And so I pulled up in the Curry's car park and had checked my voicemail. Sure enough, it's Curry's. And they're telling me my laptop's there. So I go inside and my laptop's waiting on the counter. And he says, that's the fastest pickup. And yeah, because I need my computer. I have a book out in 3 weeks. And so I was always going to come and get it anyway. And if you hadn't got my laptop ready, I was just going to sit down in the store until it arrived. So took my laptop home, put all of Doris Ahoy together, made all the necessary changes in one night, uploaded it all to KDP and got the book on Thursday. I've now gone in and finally figured out how to format the page numbers the way I wanted them, because that was a ball ache. And then I managed to actually get a price on the back. The cover formatting was more difficult than CreateSpace, and the Microsoft Word that I've got now is completely different to the other words, and I'm a huge technophobe. I find it incredibly difficult when it comes down to technology, so this was just an issue that I did not need. But that's all sorted now. I should be able to print it within the next 3 weeks. I did consider printing it immediately so you could all have it sooner rather than later, but I'm a bit of a meanie. I did, however, oh god, my hair today, it's a mess, I tell you. I did plan to, this isn't what I'm talking about. I did say on Twitter the projects that I'm currently working on, but to put it into perspective, I am currently working on the children's book, Doris 4, that I still keep calling Doris 3. There is a novella that I have called A Prior Commitment, about another older lady who is much older than Harold and Doris. She's a lot more cantankerous. She's just fed up with the world, basically. And I quite like her character. She might be me at my most sarcastic. She doesn't have anything nice to say about the world. And then 4 is a book called The Coffin Dodgers. Another novella, because I've discovered I quite like writing in this very short form. Again, set in the same world as Our Doris, but at a retirement home where the men keep getting invited to their old friends' funerals, and they've decided to play a little game of chicken. And that's it, basically. They are the books that I'm currently working on alongside my poetry that I'm actually hoping to do something with in the near future. I think I've talked for long enough now. So let me know in the comments what you're reading, writing, listening to and watching. And if you've read any of the books I mentioned, or you've listened to the songs, or you've watched the TV, tell me what your thoughts are on those things. I'm waiting. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And until next time, that is all. I'm taking advantage of the fact that nobody's at home to just give you my TBR for the night. So everybody else has more than one book that they're sticking to for Cosy Reading Night, and I think that that might be something I'm going to be doing too. So I've said about the 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I'm currently 90 pages into that. I'm 90 pages into A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. And I'm also reading Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. So I might be dipping in and out of all 3 of those. It's currently 5:30. I've no idea when my family's coming home. I might have to make them tea. That could make this a bit dodgy, really, but we're going to try our hardest to participate. So, the first hour of Cosy Reading Night is over, and I have read... Geese? Really? The other day it was crows. The first hour of the Cosy Reading Night is over, and I have read 70 pages of the 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. Once again, I'm left in something of a quandary because I'm really loving this book, and I'd quite like to continue reading this one. Also, side note, first time I've actually preferred a TV tie-in cover to the usual, normal cover. Just thought I'd mention that here. I'm just really enjoying the intertextuality and the interweavings of all these stories. There's a mystery, there's something gothic. It feels like a really autumnal read to me. So I'm regretting not getting to this book sooner, but also the entire time that I'm reading this, I can understand why Katie over at Books and Things says that this is her favourite modern novel, because there's so much in here that relates to famous novels from British literature. I've seen a video that actually mentions all of the stories that are referenced in here, and I want to go and watch that video once I finish to see if I picked up on all those references. But currently I'm seeing Dombey and Son in here, I'm seeing Wuthering Heights, I'm even seeing The Man in the Brown Suit, which I'm pretty sure was Agatha Christie. Yeah, mystery, gothic, possibly a ghost story in here. I'm really struggling to decide if I will go on and read A Winter's Promise for the second hour or Murder on the Orient Express for the third, because I'm kind of invested in this story right now. I've already pushed both books aside to read this one, and so I think I'd much prefer just to stick with this really great gothic tale that I'm particularly enjoying right now. It's now Sunday, and I didn't update this video after the first hour of the Cosy Reading Night. However, I continued to read The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. During the second hour, I actually slowed down a bit and ended up going and having conversations with folk. And so I only read about 50 pages during the second hour, and then I continued way past the third hour and just read this until I decided to go to sleep. And then this morning I only had 150 pages left, so I read those this morning. I've now finished this book, and I am honestly in awe at the story. There are so many links towards classic literature, and everybody who has read this book has said that before. I've even watched a video discussing all the links to different classics, and whilst I was reading, I was noticing them all, and I was in awe of that, and I was just astounded. And then there were revelations. Throughout the entirety of this book, I felt like the writer was incredibly trustworthy, and because of that, I went through the whole thing feeling secure, which is a strange thing to say, but once again, completely immersed in the story. It felt as though the narrator really was fond of these classic stories, because she seemed to emulate the styles there, use stylistic devices of classic literature, which were just amazing. It was like a thriller, it was gothic, it was reminding me of all of the things, but also it references books that I cannot stand, and I mean I abhor those books. And characters within this book see them as favourites, and I didn't care. I was here for it. I didn't mind that they were being referenced, and actually ended up adoring this book, despite the fact that the writer, the narrator, and these characters clearly love books that I hate. And I wanted to go and have discussions with them about why they appreciated books that I don't like. And I mentioned on Twitter the other day, and it was because of this book, that I have read Wuthering Heights 3 times in the last decade, and each time I have tried to find something to like in that book, and I have never found it. I don't like Wuthering Heights, I don't like the writing, I don't like the story. When the author here is referencing Wuthering Heights, I didn't care. I was here for it. So basically, my cozy reading night ended up being a cozy reading morning as well. So it was a cozy reading hangover, really. And I think it's going to continue to be that. I think that I am going to be thinking about this book a lot. I have already said that I'm thinking about rereading it and going back and seeing all the references that I missed, and also seeing how revelations might have been foreshadowed that I also missed, because I really was quite involved in this story. As I mentioned, I picked this up at the shop on Friday and started reading it at the till. Don't tell head office. And then I brought it home with me, and I couldn't read it yesterday until Cozy Reading Night came round, and then I just basically read it in every spare moment that I've had since Friday. I have mentioned that I prefer this TV tie-in cover. I am shocked that Past Charlie, and this is only Charlie of a fortnight ago, donated his copy to the charity shop. It's still in there, sat on a shelf. I don't know. Honestly, I, on the one hand, wish that I'd picked the book up sooner, because I feel as though it really is brilliant, and I feel as though I could have jumped on the hype train for this book within the last 13 years since its publication. But then I'm also glad to have read it now, because I feel as though some other books that I've read, had I not read those other books before, I wouldn't have caught as many references as I did. So it's definitely a strange one for me, but it's read now. I'm very glad to have read it. I am utterly thrilled that Katie over at Books and Things actually talks about this book so much and loves this book so much, because there is absolutely no way I would have picked this book up before. But that is for the reason that I didn't actually realise what this story was going to be about. I had only ever seen the cover, and so I never knew that this was going to be a book for book lovers and about books and gothic greatness. It's just brilliant and beautiful and well crafted and awe-inspiring. And do you ever have those moments when you're jealous of a writer because of their skill and their talent and their craft? Because that was happening a whole lot throughout my reading of this book. Anyway, I am going to go now, and I'm going to cobble together all these clips into some sort of vlog for you all, and then I really must get on with rereading Doris Ahoy and possibly reading another book before I go to bed tonight. Anyway, if you read this book and would like to discuss it, then please feel free to do so in the comments, although we must avoid spoilers. And if you participated in Cozy Reading Night and you have a vlog, then please link me to it. I would love to see what you're getting up to. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.